Well, before you start watching this video, I want to tell you and I want to make an emphasis because you have to finish the first part, that is reading the class, watching the previous video and reading the theory as there. In that, when you finish that, you can watch this video, okay? Well, this second video or the second part, it's related to the first one, but you need to know things that we have discussed in the first one to go on with this one. So let's start with the idea of vowels. Let's move on from this trigger question. What is the difference between vowels and consonants? Here I have to tell you that I am not talking about vowels and consonants in the sense of letters, okay? Letters. We are not talking about letters. We are talking about sounds. We are talking about symbols. We're talking about phonemes, vowels and consonants, and also semi-vowels later, okay? Let's start with the consonants. So we can think that when we produce consonants, the articulators work obstructing the airflow. Yes? So one of the difference or the main difference between vowels and consonants is that consonants need the movement of the articulators to produce an obstruction of the airflow. So when I show you, when we talk about the articulators in the previous video, I talk about some of them, some of the ones, for example, the alveolar ones, and I said that to produce the sound, for example, the T sound, you need, sorry, I am terrible with my hand on the mouse. I realized that. T, in this case, you need the movement of the tongue. You need the tongue to be, the blade of the tongue to be in contact to the alveolar ridge in your palate. So if you want to produce the T sound, what you have to do is to raise your tongue, the blade part of your tongue, put it next to or in contact to the alveolar ridge, and then you release the air. T, T. So the air cannot go out freely. Yes, it has an obstruction. So consonants work by obstruction of the articulators which moves. They move to produce the different consonants. In the case of vowels, well, vowels, they don't have any obstruction. The air goes out freely. The only thing that shape a vowel is the tongue. Yes, the different movements of the tongue are the ones that provide the format, the form, the sound, the production of the vowel. So, for example, if I have the vowel the schwa, it is called also the schwa, this one, okay? So my air goes out freely, but the only movement I have there, it's just a little bit the mouth, little bit the tongue in the middle. Try to do it yourself. Okay? The tongue is up, but it's in the middle. It's in the middle horizontally and vertically. Then we're going to see. And the idea of this is that you understand that the tongue moves freely in the mouth without obstructing the air. Why do we have semi-vowels in that case? Because they have characteristic of a vowel and they share characteristic of consonants. The characteristic they share with consonants is that there is an obstruction of the articulators when you produce ya, this one, or wa. Yes, your lips move, your tongue moves, and the characteristic that you can think that it is connected to the vowels is that there is no obstruction. Those articulators move, but there is no obstruction of the airflow. So you say ya and wa, and the air goes out freely. Okay? Well, so what we have to think about is the distribution of these vowels. How can we classify, systematize the vowels? Yes. So in this case, for distribution, you have to think about, as I said, your tongue. Think about your tongue, how it moves when you say ah, e, I. The only articulator that it's the protagonist here is the tongue. So we have to consider the shape and the position of the tongue. Yes? And for that, shape and the tongue position, sorry, I forgot about this. You think about the vertical distance between the surface and the tongue. There. Between the surface of the tongue and the palate. Remember that we call the palate the roof of the mouth. And the part of the tongue between front and back, which is raised highest. So I will repeat this because maybe it was like confused. Think about this. The tongue moves in a vertical position and in a horizontal position. So, the vertical distance between the roof of the mouth and the tongue, it's one of the movements of the tongue. Remember that we have these subdivisions, yes? The tip, the blade, the front, the back, and the root. We don't use this one because it's the roof of the mouth, but you have this form, okay? So, the movement, the vertical movement of the tongue, is when the tongue moves from the roof of the mouth to the floor of the mouth. That is when the tongue is raised. It's like resting in your mouth. Okay? And the horizontal movement is the one that goes in this way. So, when you have the tongue moving from back to front. So you can move from high and low, high and low, and from back to front and the other way around, right? So that is the tongue position. So, pay attention. Well, let's go to the part of the vowels, okay? So, we have said that what we care in vowels is the movement of the tongue. The tongue can move in a horizontal way from back, remember the mouth, from back to front, and in a vertical way. Yes? Your tongue does not move fixed. What we can think is that the tongue has different ways of moving, the different parts of the tongue. The tip of the tongue sometimes is high, the back of the tongue, the blade of the tongue, but they move horizontally and vertically. So you have to think that this chart is inside your mouth, okay? It's inside your mouth. So, for example, you can think that these vowels here are the ones that you produce when the tongue is high, and these ones are produced when your tongue is low or resting in your mouth. So let's see an example. So when we say that all these vowels are close, we are saying that when we move the tongue, we move it closer to the roof of the mouth or the palate. The tongue is close to the roof of the mouth or it's high. You can also describe as high. Okay? Oh, terrible, my handwriting. High. Okay? And in the sense of horizontal way of moving the tongue, we call front. These vowels are front vowels. For example, E is a close or high front vowel. Why front? Because your tongue moves to the front of your mouth. So, when you say E, if you want to make a correct pronunciation, for example, of the word feel, E, you will notice that your tongue goes to the front of your mouth in a horizontal position, and in a vertical position your tongue is high, or it is high or close to the roof of the mouth. Close in the meaning of in contact, si no cerrado, si in contact, en contacto. So, again, you think of this chart, this part of the chart, as if it is your mouth. Okay. So, if the first line is high or close, the lower line is open or low. Your tongue is open, that is to say that it is far away from the roof of the mouth, and it is low. Okay, so if it is the opposite, the opposite part. Okay, let's change the color so we don't get any confusion. So the opposite end is the tongue to be resting. So when you say it is exactly the opposite sound of this one, so V. So your tongue is low or open, that is away from the roof of the mouth, and it is at the front. Yes? So for example, you say E, A, E, A, E, A. You say the difference. You see the difference. You say and you see it. So your tongue goes to the front from the horizontal movement of the tongue, and it is open, opposite from the first, from the high or the close vertical position. So it's E, A, E, A. Okay? Well, in your class, that is also in the booklet, you have at the end of this part a video to explain, with a video made by Mr. Underhill that explains what I am explaining you now, because he created. So please watch it, because if you didn't understand this, you can see him. He can show you. It's not the same as me. But the idea is that you can follow, you can watch him and follow the movement of his tongue too. So please watch the video after finishing the class. Watch the video of Mr. Adrian Underhill. It is in YouTube. Okay, I also posted the link in the class. Please watch it. So let's move on. At the opposite of the horizontal position, we have the back. When the tongue moves to the back. So let's see the opposite in the sense of horizontal position. It is a high vowel. The tongue is close to the roof of the mouth, but it is at the back. Ooh, ooh, to produce ooh, yes, ooh. To produce that sound, you have to take your tongue to the back and to make it high. So, you see the difference? Ew, ew, ew. Okay, you move your tongue from the front to the back, from the front to the back, but it's always high. Yes? And the opposite of the open, when the tongue is of the open position in the sense of the vertical movement, we have, as the opposite of a, we have o, okay, o, okay. So if you have to think about these two sounds, a, o, you will see that for both your tongue will be low or open, that is far from the roof of the mouth. Yes? But the difference is that when you say your tongue is at the front in the horizontal position, but it's at the back in the same position. So it's when you say O. So it's A, O, A, O. The same difference between I, U, but they are high. Okay? The rest, these happy ones, are the ones that are central. Yes? They are central or mid. They are also called mid or central. So in the horizontal or vertical position, your tongue is in the middle always. So think, produce. O. Okay? So again. O. Okay? So they're in the middle. Your tongue is at the middle, but then going. In this case, it is at the front. In the case of it's at the front. Change the color. And in this case, it's at the back, but they are always in the middle, in the vertical position. And these ones, they are the Corea del Centro. They are the central ones. They are in the vertical and horizontal position, they are central. Okay? So, please watch the video of Mr. Underhill to see the different positions of movements. Okay? Because the idea is that you make some kind of system to remember the position. So when you produce the E, the long E as in feel, yes, you have to think that your tongue is moving to the front and close. This is not a question of, I don't do that sound in that way. No. ¿Ok? Esto no es, yo no la hago así, yo no hago la I así, no, bueno, estamos aprendiendo los sonidos en inglés, por lo tanto, si estamos aprendiendo los sonidos en inglés, la idea es hacerlos como corresponde. Entonces, si I es producida con la lengua al frente y arriba, hay que producirla al frente y arriba. Entonces, a medida que yo voy pasando por la tabla, por el chart, de forma vertical horizontal, tengo que ir moviendo la lengua en ese sentido, ¿sí? Please watch Mr. Adrian Underhill's video, which is going to be clearer, and I promise next time you will see my face, because I will show you, you will have the nice picture of my tongue and mouth, well, not my tongue, but you will see me producing the sound, but I don't know if then later on you could slip. You will be able to slip. I don't know. But well, I need to help you with this. So please watch the video and read everything. Then please read the theory for the following class. Remember that next class we are not having classes, which is for questions. We're going to work with questions, but you will have a task, okay, to do. The task is related to vowels. It's not related to anything else. Okay? It's related to vowels. We're going to start with the difference between E and E. Okay? Well, that's all. Bye-bye.